All right, good. So now we are recording. I will continue to admit people in. And while I'm doing that, I just want to welcome Hank. Hank, wave. So
Cheers.
Hank
Great to
is
meet you all.
here from Kindlepreneur. Super excited to have him here. And we're going to talk about some really cool things. But I'm going to talk about one thing I learned about Hank today. So his bio, which everybody's seen in the event description, says he's an Amazon bestseller. But let's just clarify what that means for him. He's in the top 50 for all of Amazon, not in a category. So that is absolutely amazing. And congratulations to Hank. That is a unbelievable feat. Super
Thank you
wonderful.
so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super exciting. So we're going to talk about using Amazon, getting what we can out of it, because clearly Hank knows how to do that. We're going to talk about keywords, categories, how to boost your visibility. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of this session so Hank can get through his stuff and get you as much information as possible. The replay will be sent to everybody who RSVPs. You can see we have a big crowd here today, so that's fantastic. And with all of that, I'm just going to turn it right over to Hank and we're going to let her rip.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So let me know when you are able to see that. Christina?
I can see it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you all again so much for having us today. We're excited to be here. I love all things books, all things publishing, and we want to talk to you all today about how to get your book discovered on Amazon. And when I say that, when I use the word discovered, what I'm talking about is how people who don't know who you are, they're not your friends, they're not your family. These are people that are just going through Amazon, they're looking through for their next read, and they say, wow, that book is one I want to check out next, and it's the one that you have. So again, this whole presentation is all about how people can organically find you on Amazon. Now, a question that we often get is why Amazon? Why is there this focus on Amazon when there's Google, when there's Kobo, when there's all these other places that sell books? And the reason why is that each month over 197 million people around the world shop on Amazon. This is a huge number. And even if you aren't selling your books on Amazon, you should be aware of the trends that are going on there and as well as just the massive market that is there. So, again, if you're an author, you definitely want to know what's going on Amazon, and you definitely probably want to be attracting some percentage of all these people coming through to the Amazon store over to your books by selling on Amazon itself. Now, when it comes to selling on Amazon, there's one thing that's really important to remember, and Amazon CEO told us this. And Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said, they don't make money when they sell things, they make money when they help customers make purchase decisions. Now, let's think about what that means. Ultimately, what Jeff is saying here is he wants people that come over to Amazon to be helped along their journey to find their next amazing product, or in our case, books. And the reason why Jeff cares so much about this is because he knows if he matches a customer with a product or a book that they love, that the next time they're looking for a book, they're going to come back to Amazon. And then that's going to happen again. They'll come back and over again, they'll come back. And he wants that customer for life. And what that means is that when we're positioning our books or when we're publishing our books on Amazon, we have to help Amazon match our book with the right reader so that they come back afterwards. And then Jeff and all his data analysts over there can see that people love the book so much that they're returning to Amazon in the future. So, again, when we're talking about the Amazon algorithm today, when we're talking all about discoverability, keep in mind we're trying to help readers find the right book, which is ours, and then come back time and time again because they enjoyed it so much and it was such a great fit for them. So ultimately, that takes us to the question of how does Amazon help book shoppers find the right book? Because if we understand that, we can make sure our book is being paired up with the right shopper so they have an amazing experience, tell all their friends, and come back to Amazon in the future. Now, before we begin, this webinar was created by Dave Chesson. And Dave is the founder of Kindlepreneur as well as publisher Rocket, but there's some interesting things that not everyone knows about him. The first thing is that Dave has dyslexia. He is a published author, but he never thought he would actually become an author. English was not his favorite study. Unlike some of us that know we want to be writers since a very young age, Dave didn't realize this until later in life. And Dave actually didn't realize he wanted to be an author until he was deployed internationally in the military and wanted to find a way to come back and support his family. So Dave went off and he published 9 international best-selling books on different topics while he was deployed, and that gave him the path to be able to return home to the United States and support his family here. Now, when Dave was doing this, Something that he realizes there's a lot of authors out there that can write amazing books, but they're not so great at marketing them. I mean, they've got great characters, great plots. I mean, they know they have quality material. However, it's so hard to get in front of the right readers and so hard to understand the path to get people to even open up page one. So, what Dave did here is he founded Kindlepreneur and Publisher Rocket to help people understand that marketing process, to be able to show them that if you have an amazing book, it deserves to be read, and this is how you can get it in front of the right market. Now, when we talk about many of the tactics that David employs with marketing and Rocket, these are ideas that came from consulting large publishing companies and New York Times bestselling authors in fiction and nonfiction. These are from case studies. This is tried and true data. This has been proven out. It's not just things that we're saying it sounds like a nice idea, but these are things that have actually been implemented and shown to work. And don't just believe us on that, but believe Amazon themselves, which has stated learn from Kindlepreneur on how to optimize your book for more sales. Now, a little bit about me, and Christina already covered some of this, but I'm someone that is really interested in data. I am an engineer by trade. I'm the product manager of Publisher Rocket. And I always heard, when I'm going through school and when I was going through college, that it's impossible to make it as an author and you'll never be able to support a family off of it. So I went off and I followed my love of engineering and I did that. But at the same time, I knew I always wanted to be an author. I was always someone since probably the age of 9 or 10, I wanted to write a fantasy book. I wanted to go out there and create something amazing. But again, I heard you couldn't do it. So I pursued my second love again, which was engineering, and went after that while I was in college. Well, I continued publishing books and continued writing over and over, and I learned many of the tips and tactics we're going to talk about today, as well as through some good old sweat equity and grit and perseverance. And I became the best-selling author on Kindle and reached top 50 in the entire Kindle store. So that's one of my proudest moments. It's something that all of you can do through perseverance and by making sure that you employ the right tactics so your marketing works and is not wasted after you've written all these wonderful words. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'm a data addict. I absolutely love the numbers. That's what brought me over to Publisher Rocket, and it's a marriage of two worlds of data and publishing, which I absolutely love the inner between of them. So now I'm the product manager of Publisher Rocket. If you see any new features on Publisher Rocket, I'm the guy that designed them, that helped code them up, and built them out so you get something new and you can see amazing new insights into Amazon and what they do and how they promote your book. And then finally, my big question that I always ask is what makes a bestseller a bestseller? And what I mean by that is so often I see books, and both of them are incredible. And if two books get published on the Amazon store, one of them takes off and does really well, and the other one, even though it's really good, just doesn't really take off at all at Amazon. And I'm always asking the question, why is it the first book did really well, but the second book didn't? And what are the differences in data that we can find out so that the person that published the second book could also do well in the Amazon store? Now, with that, let's come back to our focus today, which are the steps you can take to increase the number of shoppers that discover your book. And again, these are people that are organically finding it on the Amazon store. And there are two ways that shoppers discover books on Amazon. The first one is Amazon categories. Think of these like genres or bookshelves. And the second one is the Amazon search bar. And that's when you go type in the top of Amazon, you put in a keyword, hit enter, and they show you all those results. Now, the first one we'll focus on is that Amazon search bar. So again, that's up here at the top of Amazon. You type in something like sci-fi military, just like this GIF, and Amazon comes back and they show you all these recommendations for these keywords. And what's important here is that 66% of book shoppers on Amazon start off by typing something into this key bar. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of what things they're typing into this key bar because again, 2/3 of them are coming through here and looking for their book that way. And the way that you can determine whether your book shows up in these results, such as, for example, your sci fi military, is the 7 Kindle keywords that you choose when you publish your book. Now, the second way to help your book out as well is Amazon categories. Categories, remember, are like genres, and this is where Amazon will show all the best sellers, for example, in a specific category or genre. So you can go on Amazon, there's sections such as science fiction here, and they will show the top 20 books that are best selling in that category right now. And readers will go and they'll hang out in these categories and they'll look for the next book they want to read. Because they're going to say, I love science fiction. Amazon, show me the 20 best ones here. And they're just going to scroll through until they find something that they enjoy. The important thing here to remember is the top 20 books get that front page placement in categories. And in addition, if you become a #1 bestseller, so if you get this position right here at the very top, that means you get this beautiful orange bestseller tag on Amazon. And that shows up all across Amazon. So if you're a bestseller in a category, that means you get that orange tag, and anyone who is seeing your book knows that your book has become a bestseller. Now, taking that together, keywords or Amazon search plus categories equals discoverability. If we can really help your book excel in these two areas, that means that people that have never heard of you before are going to start seeing you across the Amazon store and make that decision if they want to purchase your book or not. And I have three secrets for you today. But the first secret I have is that everyone can become a bestseller without spending thousands of dollars on ads or working 18 hours a day. Now, historically, I would have called you crazy. You all know my story where I said, people told me I couldn't become a bestseller. It's not something you can do. It's absolutely something you can do, and we'll show you how to get that beautiful orange bestseller tag for your book as well. And that's through all our marketing tactics that we'll jump into. And what we need in order to do that, to get that beautiful orange bestseller tag, is we have to find profitable keywords, and then we have to find the right best-selling categories for your book. And we'll start off by jumping into keywords. So with Amazon book keywords, the important thing to remember is that we're referring to these 7 Kindle boxes that appear when you publish on KDP. So when I'm talking about keywords again, it's what you type into these boxes that tell Amazon what your book is about. You have 7 chances here to really put your best foot forward, and you might see the word optional here, but make sure you fill all 7 of these out. Again, this is Amazon trying to understand your book and see what your book is about and pair it with the right reader. And when you choose these words, you want to make sure you choose words that people are likely to type into the Amazon search bar, because then Amazon knows that's what they should match you up with when people are in search. So an example here again, when we talk about keywords, if one of your keywords was sci-fi military, we'll see it type this out here, and someone hits enter, your book will be somewhere within these results. You might be on page 1, you might be on page 50, but you will be somewhere within these results, and we'll talk to you about how to best make sure you appear near the top. Now, earlier we told you that 66% of book shoppers start their shopping using Amazon search. So 2/3 of people looking for their next book type something in that search bar. But the really impressive number is 89% of people that do that end up making a purchase. People that type something in the search bar know what they want. They are motivated, they are ready to buy something. So when they go through and enter it and your book appears near the top, there's a really high chance they're going to click buy on that because they have their wallet out and they're ready to actually purchase. The way to think about this is like if you're hungry and you walk into a gas station and you're looking for a snack, or you walk into a grocery store and you're looking for a snack. Well, if you go into the grocery store, you know that you're not leaving there until you find a snack. You might not know which snack you're going to get. You might not know what aisle it's on, but you're going in with a mission and you're not leaving until you have it. Our goal here is to make sure our book appears in front of those hungry shoppers so that we're one of the options that they can potentially pick from. Now, in order to do that, we're going to have to jump into a little bit of data science. Now, I know that word can be scary, but Christina let me know that you all are plenty technical, and not just that, but we break it down into easy ways that you can start using today. And the first thing to look at is how Kindle keywords affect how well your book is discovered on Amazon. Now, I have a chart here, and what this is showing is depending upon where your book ranks for a keyword. So if I type in, for instance, sci-fi military, how much attention it gets on Amazon. So if I type in sci-fi military and my book shows up in position number 1, then I get 27% of the clicks for that keyword. If my book shows up in position number 2, so slightly farther down the page, I get 12%, then 9, then 8, and it continues to drop off and drop off as you get further down the page. And here's an example of what that really looks like. So for example here, I've typed in the word Space Marines. The book in position number 1, if you're at the very top, you are getting 27% of the clicks for that keyword. So someone types in Space Marines, 20% of or 27% of people are clicking on that book here. If you're in position number 2, that really drops off. You're only getting 12% of the clicks. Position number 3, you only get 9%, and it continues to really go down. And you can imagine how low by the time you get to page 5 of Amazon, where maybe only 1 or 2% of the people are left over looking through. So as authors, it's really important for us to remember that we want to show up in this top position. We want to get as close as possible to the top of the page, especially because the book in position number 1 gets over 2 times the amount of clicks as the book in position number 2. So we want to make sure again that we raise our book to the top of Amazon when possible, because we get way more clicks in this type of scenario. And here's a reason why this matters so much. So say your book ranks in position number 5 for Space Marines. Well, if it's in position number 5, it's only getting 7% of clicks. So if 1,000 people search for Space Marines every month, that means each month I get 70 clicks off of this one keyword. And 70 clicks isn't bad, but let's say what if you ranked in position number 1 instead? And if you ranked in position number 1, you would get 27% or 270 clicks every single month. So just by going up the page 5 positions for this keyword, You get 200 clicks every single month, and those are all people that are interested in potentially buying your book or going on or at least reading the blurb and deciding if it's right for them. Now, the important thing here too is that these are free clicks. These aren't clicks that you paid money for like in advertising. These aren't clicks from people you know. These are clicks from people just browsing through Amazon and deciding that your book is the one they want to check out next. What's important here as well is remember you have 7 different keywords. So I just showed you an example of what happens if you optimize one keyword. But since you have 7, these add up. And what I mean by that is your first keyword might get you 270 clicks per month. Like just that one keyword, people typing in, for example, Space Marines might bring you 270 clicks for that keyword. Your second keyword could bring you 120. Your third one could bring you 87. Your fourth one could get you 112. Your fifth one, 66. Your sixth one, 211. And your seventh one, 167. Now, all these 7 keywords across Amazon are going to be different funnels, and they're all pointing to your book. And what that means is that you get hundreds of clicks coming from each of these individual keywords, pointing as different funnels towards your book. So it's really important when you think about keywords to optimize all 7 of these, because just improving each one of them a little bit can drive way more clicks towards your book and make it much more visible on the Amazon store. Now, in order to optimize keywords and figure out how we show up at the top of search, we really have to ask what exactly are keywords and what makes them good. So, when we talk about keywords, they're the words your target shopper uses to find the book that they want. These are the things that they type into that search bar, what they actually enter in, and we want it to be as close as possible what they're typing because that means Amazon will match us up with that specific reader. Now, in particular, fiction keywords themselves describe the type of story the book is about. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a shopper, shoes of a reader that might be looking for your book. If they don't know your book title and they don't know who you are, they're going to start typing in things about your book. Like they might write, fantasy book. They might write medieval fantasy. They might say science fiction colonization. There's all sorts of search terms they might use. But you want to use those terms that are about your book rather than like their title or anything about specifically you yourself because you want people searching for niches across the web to see your book as a recommendation. Now, here are the ways that we use to brainstorm keywords, and I highly recommend looking through these to start thinking of what keywords might be good for you. And there are 5 different ways that we brainstorm keywords. The first one is settings and time periods. When we talk about settings and time periods, it's really important to consider when and where your book took place. People will read books just because of the time period or even the country that it actually occurs. And you'll see this oftentimes like in fantasy. People will type in medieval fantasy. In science fiction, people might type in futuristic. Historical romance, I know a lot of people look for Scottish historical romances. But if your book has a specific setting, make sure you include it because people will read it again just because that's in there. In these books on the right, we have a whole bunch of examples. These are all romance just because they have very easy covers, but this works for all fiction. We have some examples here that illustrate this. So on the right, you can see the settings probably something like Gone with the Wind Desk or early America. Here you have the British Knight that immediately tells me likely when and where that took place. Probably in England, and with because we have knight in there, it's probably medieval as well. We have medieval clothing here and something fantastical on the left. So again, if your book has one of these attributes, start writing down keywords about that because you may want to include them for it. Second is character types and roles. And what this means is that there's people that'll read a book with a specific type of character in it just because they love that archetype. Some great examples here in romance are the Billionaire Boy Club. A couple years back, it was really popular to see romance books coming about, just about rich fantasies or people with really wealthy backgrounds that are getting into romances. On the right, you can see like a family man romance. So if someone's looking for that, you want to include that as your keyword as well. Over on the left, we have a religious one. In the middle, we have a huge hunk on the cover. We can all tell what type of romance character that's going to be as well. But people read books about that because that's the type of character that's in there. So again, if you have a specific type of archetype, a specific type of role, a trope within your book, call it out because people will search for that on Amazon. And if your book pops out and illustrates that to them, they're likely to go ahead and click buy. Next, we have the plot theme, and this is really what your entire book is about, what it pertains to in terms of story. So, a great example here is The Summer House, which would be a vacation getaway romance. If someone's reading this, there's a good chance they might be on their way to Hawaii and looking for a read for the beach or something to read that they're on the airplane. But they're looking for types of books that have that specific plot theme in it and have that type of trend within it as well. On the right, we have the wedding date, and there are people that read dozens of books all about weddings just because they love to read that type of story. We also have War of Hearts, which has a love triangle in it, or a Western here in the middle. But the point is, again, if you have a specific type of plot theme, call it out, put in your keywords so people can find your book for it. Next, we have events and situations. And with events and situations, if you have something that's a well-known event, such as like a historical war or something that, people commonly know or refer to, and that occurs within your book, make sure you call it out. In addition, if your character is being put in a weird type of situation or something unique that really makes your book stand out, call that out as well. So a great example here on the right, stalker. We can immediately tell what type of situation that character is being put into, and there's people that might read serial killer type books like that just because of the hostage type situation that someone is in. In addition, we have on the left Wives of War, which took place within one of the world wars, and people might read that book just because there's a world war in it. I can tell you that my dad has read probably every book out there, not read everyone, but at least looked at every book out there that has to do with World War II. He absolutely loves World War II. So if World War II is one of your keywords, I can guarantee you people like my dad have at least looked and considered if they want to purchase your book because it has that within it. And then last, but certainly not least, is the story tone. And when we talk about story tone, this is all about the feel of the book. If you open up to a random page in the middle, is it happy? Is it sad? Is it comedic? What does this make you feel like? And how does this make your reader feel when they purchase? For me, for example, I don't like reading sad books. So I stick away from like grimdark fantasy. I don't read things that'll make me cry in general. I look for more happy books, lighthearted, comedic. Those tend to be the keywords that I type in. But in the example down here, we can see one that's more like melodramatic, maybe on the left, more something hallmarky in the middle, on the right, maybe a true romance, something distressed in the middle. But again, this is if you're trying to come up with these keywords, think about how your book makes your reader feel and include those as well. So, as a recap, when you're coming up with these keywords, use these different sections when you're starting to think about them and start brainstorming with those. Now, the second keyword I have for you today is not all keywords are created equal. Some are than others. And there's a way to tell which ones are better and which ones are worse, and we're going to jump through that. And the question we really have there is what makes for good keywords? Now, when we talk about a good keyword, there are three steps that we take. The first is we need keywords that shoppers actually use. If you come up with a keyword that describes your book incredibly well, but no one ever types it into the search bar, it's not going to help you out because no one's actually looking for it. So we need to make sure your keyword is something that people are actively typing in many times a day. Second is we need to make sure people actually buy with this keyword. If your keyword, for example, is free fantasy books, well, people probably aren't going to buy your book off of that because they're typing in the word free. Or you could have something where there's different types of keywords as well, where people are more likely not to buy or to buy the competition simply because maybe they think your book doesn't fit. So the important thing as well is just to make sure people buy when they use this keyword and it drives purchase behavior. And then the third thing is we need keywords that aren't too competitive. And what I mean here is that if you're competing with a keyword with a famous author, Amazon is going to show their book above yours because they know that that author and use something like, let's say, fantasy. Well, that keyword is used by all sorts of famous authors. They're going to show up way far up the page, and you're going to show up on page 10 because Amazon might not know who you are. So you want to make sure, again, that your keywords aren't too competitive. And here's how we actually do these steps. So with step one, in order to determine if shoppers actually use it in search, we're going to start typing in this keyword into the search bar. And Amazon remembers what people have typed into the search bar before. They're really smart, so they know that millions or let's say thousands of people have typed in these words that you're seeing appear here. So if you start typing in your keyword and you see that Amazon actually recommends it, that's a great sign because Amazon has realized that lots of people have typed in that keyword before, and therefore you can use it as well. You can also use this to brainstorm for other keywords because you can see all the other things Amazon is recommending, which means Amazon is saying a lot of other people have put this into the search engine before. Second is we need to make sure people actually buy with these keywords. And fortunately, Amazon gives us a way to be able to tell that. So if you type in a keyword and you click on a book, you can see the Amazon bestseller rank number that's in the book description. You can take that number and you can put in the Kindle bestseller calculator, which you can find for free online on kindlepreneur.com, and that'll tell you how many sales per day that book is making. So basically, based upon this number that you can find on the Amazon page for that book, you can see how many sales per day that book is making and whether or not they're making money off of it. And then third is we want to make sure our keywords aren't too competitive. And the ways that we tell that is we ask these subjective questions. First, if you type in that keyword, does a famous author pop up? If they do, it's going to be really hard for you to rank towards the top for that keyword. Second is say the author is not famous, but it's a beautiful cover with 5,000 amazing reviews and a book description that makes you want to buy it right now. Well, that means it's also competitive because they've got a Amazon might think
You
people are
can't
looking for that
hear.
specific book.
Sorry to interrupt, but for the last minute, we didn't hear the sound basically.
Oh, I'm sorry. Christina, do you know when I dropped off so I can help out here?
Yeah,
Like a minute, not even.
I didn't miss any sound. Sorry.
It was almost at the beginning of this. You said it after the famous author.
Okay, let me jump right back there and we'll get started. And if that happens again, just let me know. We do have a replay, so if anything cuts, we'll make sure we get it in there. But jumping back again off of competitive words is that if the author's famous, you don't want to use it because that means you're gonna have a hard time appearing. If the book is just beautiful, amazing quality, they got 5,000 beautiful reviews, and an incredible book description that makes you want to buy it, you want to avoid that keyword too because someone has an amazing product there. And then if the age is brand new, like let's say it's just been published, that means that they're going to present that book ahead of yours and you might want to avoid it. The final areas to look at are things about the author themselves. Say the other authors appearing for your keyword have blogs or other online assets, or they're really good at marketing, or they're running a lot of advertisements. That means that they are actively putting effort into defending that keyword, which is going to make it way harder for you to appear for it as well. So, again, when you're trying to determine keywords are competitive, look for the low competition ones so you can climb to the top of that page and show in position number one, as opposed to showing up on page number five. Now, what you would typically do here is you build a spreadsheet and repeat this over and over and over again until you find the right keywords for you. Personally, when I do this, I might look through hundreds of keywords trying to determine which ones work out for my book. Or what you can do is you can use the easy button to get this done in minutes rather than hours. Because if you do this manually, it generally takes a long time. And that easy button is Publish Rocket, which is the software I'm head of product for and Dave Chesson designed. So with that software, if you click on keyword search, you can type in a keyword like fantasy up here, and it'll tell you all the different keywords that are related or similar to fantasy that you may want to take a look at. It'll also tell you how many searches per month or how many people are looking for this keyword on Amazon every month. Then you can see how much this keyword is earning for its top books and the competition score. So just here in one dashboard, you can immediately see for all these different keywords whether people are looking for it, whether it's earning money, and if it's really competitive. And based on that information, which it pulls right away, you can decide whether this keyword is good or bad for your particular book. Now, something that we know here at Publisher Rock and Kindlepreneur is it's really hard. I can't tell you how often I get stuck here or stumped, or maybe I come up with a whole bunch and just nothing fits right and I can't figure out what people are typing in looking for my book. And at Publisher Rocket, we just released a new feature that helps out with that. And we thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could actually just know what keywords help popular books use or make sales, and then maybe you can use those keywords for your own if they fit your book as well. Well, now you can, and that's through the reverse ASIN feature that we just developed for Publisher Rocket. Type in a popular book, such as Mistborn here on the right, and Rocket will show you all the keywords that this book has appeared for in the past. And you can go through and you can find out what keywords have helped this book succeed and see how many sales that keyword is making, the searches per month, and the competition score. So a great example here is if I also have a trilogy fantasy series, I might want to consider that for my keyword because I can see right away that it's earning high amount, it's have high searches per month, low competition, and it's working for this bestseller that's doing incredible across the store. So using that new reverse ASIN feature, it takes the guesswork out. You don't have to sit there for hours stumped trying to figure out what keywords might work for you. You can just look at bestsellers similar to your own book and use the keywords there that are generic and fit your book as well. So again, with that new reverse ASIN feature, Rocket finds the winning keywords automatically for you so that you're not stuck trying to come up with them. Okay, so now that we know how to find good keywords, let's look at some great examples of keywords that have worked for books before. And a great example here that we show is keywords about parenting. So when I talk about parenting keywords, or let's pretend that you've written a book about parenting. These are all keywords that you may consider using for your book. And to you, in my eyes, these all look pretty similar. Like we have parenting, parenting teenage girls, how to parent teen girls. These are all like, well, to Amazon, these words are completely different. Remember, Amazon is a computer. It doesn't really understand what these words necessarily mean. It just knows that they're affiliated with different types of shoppers that see different types of books and determine if they want to go buy or not. And what that means is that very similar keywords can have very different results on the Amazon store. A great example here is parenting teenage boys compared to how to parent teen boys. If we look at parenting teenage boys, we can see right away that it has $337 per month and 240 people search for us this month as well. But if I look at how to parent teen boys, it only makes $38 and less than 100 people search for this per month. So again, as a person, I can't tell the difference between these keywords, but Amazon absolutely can, and in parenting teenage boys does significantly better than something like how to parent teen boys. Another good example here is the keyword parent ADHD. If we use that keyword parent ADHD, it's more specific, and that means our competition goes down. So if we compare parent ADHD to parenting teenage boys, we can see that its competition score is a 28, whereas parenting teenage boys is a 56. So you can use this information based upon what your book is about and how specific you want to get to make sure you're choosing keywords that help your book out, and even though they sound very similar, do the best on Amazon's algorithm. Now, another example here is why it's so important to go niche and really focus on keywords that have low competition and describe your book very well. And in this example, we're going to start off with a very broad keyword. So again, let's pretend that you've written some sort of science fiction book, and the broad keyword you use is science fiction. Now, science fiction is a keyword that every famous author out there wants. And you can see there's 137,000 authors out there, 137,000 of them, all eager to show up in position number one for that keyword. That's incredibly difficult to compete against. And you can see we have a 70 in our competition score, which means it's really high competition. Well, what that means is we want to get more niche. And let's say we type in a keyword like sci-fi military. Well, if we type in sci-fi military, we can see the number of competitors drops by nearly 10 times. And that competition score drops from a 70 to a 62. Well, let's go even more niche and let's type in something like Space Marines. Well, that goes down to 3,000 competitors. And at that point, let's go even more niche and type in Space Marine Bug Hunt. And if we get all the way down to Space Marine Bug Hunt, we can see there's only 8 competitors on the Amazon store. What that means is that if people are searching for the term Space Marine Bug Hunt, and there's only 8 people out there, you are automatically on the first page of Amazon for that search. And you only have to beat out 8 people to start showing up in position number 1. And what I can see here is that the books that are in the top 5 positions for this search are earning $240 per month for that keyword. So if you can show up in position number 1, you automatically start earning at $240 per month for that keyword, and it's way less competition compared to something like science fiction. Now, you might say, Hank, wait on a second. I see that big $84,000 number by science fiction. Why don't I want to appear there? And the answer is we all want to appear there. Like authors are very competitive. They all like to be in that position. But if you use science fiction as your keyword, you're probably showing up on page 50 or lower for Amazon search results. That means you're not seeing a single dollar, that $84,000 that the big authors at the top are getting. So it's really important again to go niche with your keywords, to think about how you can get specific so you have a low amount of competitors and you can take home the entire amount that keyword's earning because you appear near the top. Now, the last example I have as well are different type of keywords that are really strange, or we might normally not think of, but Publisher Rocket could show us. So a great example here is people will type in a keyword like romance, they'll look at the results, and they'll say, that's not really what I was looking for. I actually want something different. And then they'll start appending additional words on the end of romance until they find what they're looking for. So for this example here, they typed in romance, and they decided it's not what they want, and they might just append on and sex, and they'll see what results are going to come back for that. Well, what this means is we get really weird keywords typed into Amazon that don't always mean what they sound like. And a great example here is second chance romance. And second chance romance is all about someone looking for their second chance at love. They might type that in and say, oh no, I was looking for a second chance romance with someone who has a family and a baby in their family. So they'll type in second chance romance and then just add on at the end with baby. Now, we all know that the connotation there is not what they're going for. However, that's a keyword that people often search and type into Amazon just because of the strange ways that people type things into keyboards. And the important thing to remember here is that Second Chance Romance was only earning $390, whereas Second Chance Romance with Baby was bringing home $23,000. So it's really important when you think of these keywords to realize people type really strange combinations into Amazon, and you need to start thinking about what you would be like behind a keyboard and what you might actually enter. And if you have Publisher Rocket, it shows you these as well, so you can understand which ones are out there that you might not have thought of. Another example down here is how you can make your keywords way less competitive just by changing a single letter. So if you wrote a book about billionaire romance here, we can see that has an 80 on the competition score. Well, just changing the word billionaire to millionaire, just B to M right here, changes it from an 80 on the competition score down to 55, but it still brings home $4,000 per month. So if you're looking again to make your keywords more specific, just try different words or combinations of things that might be a little off the beaten path, and you might find out that there's way less competition for them, but they still bring home a good amount of value. Now, here's some examples if you do this manually versus if you use Publish Rocket. So if you do this manually, you're going to get all these different keywords that you potentially could use, and you'll be able to see the average earnings that you get on them. And if you look through a list like this, you're likely going to choose something like pandemic because it earns $10,000 a month. Well, if you use Publisher Rocket, we get all these additional keywords that we might not have thought of. We see the searches per month, their earnings, and the competition score. And the benefit here is with all that information, we really understand what keywords might help. And if you remember over here, we chose pandemic because it earns $10,000 a month. But if we look at pandemic over here, it's got 100 on the competition score, and it's extremely hard to actually rank for. So using Rocket, we can find out which keywords work best for our book, pick the 7 that we really like that have high searches, high earnings, and that low competition score. So, as a recap, there are 3 ways to get your keywords. The first is you can guess. And if you guess, I really don't recommend it because you're not going to know what's going to actually work out for your book. It might work, it might not, and you might really confuse Amazon on what your book is about. Second is you can do that manual path, and this absolutely works. If you go into Amazon, you start typing keywords into the search bar, doing your research and finding out which keywords are going to succeed for you, you'll absolutely see some traction coming through there. But third is if you don't want to spend all the time doing that and you want the full picture, Publisher Rocket is the best way to get keywords that'll absolutely help your book. All right. With that, that takes us through book keywords. And if you remember, we're still going to talk about book categories and how you can use categories to also help your book for discoverability. So we're going into categories. Remember that categories are like the niches or the genres that your book is in on the Amazon store. So science fiction is a great example of a category. The Amazon shows the top 20 books that appear in here. And if you show up at position number 1, don't forget, you get that beautiful orange bestseller badge. Now, the third secret that we have today with categories is if you want to be a bestseller, choose your categories carefully. Don't let Amazon choose them for you because oftentimes they don't choose the best one for you and they actually choose ones that can actively hurt you sometimes. And this is why. So when we go look at Amazon's category system, they'll give you ability to choose them here. And when you publish your book, you can select your categories over here and pick which ones you want to put your book into. Now, you get to choose 3 of these, and these match up with the 14,000 categories that actually appear on the Amazon store. As we mentioned, you only get to choose 3. Historically, it used to be 10, but Amazon reduced that number down to 3 in the last couple of years. And not just that, but Amazon doesn't have to accept the ones that you tell them. They could actually say, hey, we don't believe your book fits in this category, so we're going to remove you from it. Or they could say, we think your book belongs to an extra one, and we're going to add you to that as well. So Amazon, in general, they'll listen to what you say here, but you don't have the final say. Amazon absolutely has the final say whether your book stays in there, or if you get lucky and they put you in an additional one where you get more discoverability too. Now, this all seems pretty simple, but there are 2 major things to look out for categories. One, in the first pitfall, is that 54% of all categories are duplicates of each other. What this means is on the Amazon store, if you start selecting the categories you want, over half of them are on there many different times. And if you're trying to do your category research, it makes it really hard to tell which categories are different or the same, or which ones you might want to use for your book, because you can't tell if it's in all these other additional spots. So when you're doing your research again, make sure you check if a category is a duplicate so you don't have to double your work when you're looking through all of them. And then the second pitfall, and this one is far more scary, is 27% of all categories are ghost categories. Now, if you haven't heard what a ghost category is, it's a category that actually appears on Amazon but doesn't really exist. And here's what I mean by that. A normal category shows up at the top here. And in this normal category, a user can find it by exploring the Amazon store. They go through, for example, and click on mystery, and then they can see historical under mystery, and this appears up with their 20 bucks. Not just that, but it has a title at the top. It tells you what it's about. And this is a page that a reader can organically land on, and many people stumble on this page every single day. Well, a ghost category is different. A ghost category is a category Amazon lets you pick on the store, but there's actually no way for a reader to find it. They can't actually accidentally stumble on it, and this page gets almost 0 traffic on the Amazon store. Not only that, but there's no title here, so you can't even tell what the category is about. And the worst thing is if you become a bestseller in a ghost category, you don't get that orange tag that normal categories do. So even if you make your way all the way to the top of a ghost category, Amazon doesn't reward you with that bestseller tag, and no one knows that you're actually a bestseller. So when you're going through your categories, make sure you pick ones that look like this and that are not ghost categories, and you avoid the ones that are ghost categories because there's not a lot of benefits to being in a ghost category. And just as a recap, Ghost categories get placed in pages that can't be found by shoppers, and you can't get a bestseller tag from them either. So you really want to try to avoid these categories. Now, beware again because you have a high chance of selecting a ghost because a quarter of the categories on Amazon are ghosts, and you have 3 chances where you might accidentally pick one. A great example here is I write in fantasy. And about a year ago, urban fantasy, paranormal fantasy, and I believe it was ghost fantasy were all ghost categories. And those were the three categories that I chose for my book. What that meant is I'd never had a chance to become a bestseller in any of those categories. And because I selected those three and I didn't know that there were ghost categories at the time, I got a lot less discoverability for that book. When I found out there were ghost categories, I moved my book into actual categories where it has a chance to become a bestseller and where people are actively discovering it on the store. Okay, so now that we know the pitfalls for choosing categories, let's look at how you can find the best ones for your book. And remember, to become an Amazon bestseller, so to get that beautiful orange bestseller tag, all you need to do is sell more books in one day than any other book in that category. So, what I mean by that is if you sell more books on that one day that you're in that category than anyone else there, you float to the top and you get that beautiful orange tag. And the reason that this matters so much is it takes a very different amount of sales per day to reach the top of different types of categories. So, for example, here, if you're considering 2 different types of categories for your book, category number one, it might only take 3 books sold per day to become a bestseller. And category number two, it might take 247 books sold per day to become a bestseller. Now, if you're a new author, you want to put your book into category one. And this is assuming it fits your book well. And the reason why is that immediately you float to the top of the charts. People are seeing your book on the front page, and they're more likely to buy when they're scrolling through this category. If you put your book into category two, it's incredibly competitive. Because it takes 247 books sold per day to reach the top, you're probably on page 5 of that category, and almost no one is seeing you. So again, when you're looking for categories, make sure again that these fit your book well, but because there's 14,000 categories in the store, you likely will find many that do. Then choose the ones that are less competitive, because those are the ones that help your book shine and appear to shoppers and not get buried underneath tons of bestsellers. And here's how we can actually go through and find out which categories are best selling and ones that have low competition and are great niches for your book. So just like keywords, we have 3 steps here to find best-selling categories. The first step is to look at the categories of other books like your own. Step 2 is to find the ABSR of the number one best-selling book and put it in the Kindle calculator to see how many sales it takes to get the number one spot. And then the third step is repeat this until you find 3 categories that work well for you. So with step 1, let's find a book that's similar to our own, and we're going to scroll all the way down the page on Amazon, and we'll find out what categories that book is into. And these are categories that we now want to look at for our book as well. Step 2 is we'll go ahead and type or click on one of those categories, and then we'll click on the book in position number 1 for that category, and we can see how many sales per day it takes to get into position number 1. And how we do that again is we find that bestseller rank all the way at the bottom of that book's page and put it in the Kindle bestseller calculator, which again you can find for free, and will tell me how many sales per day it takes to reach position number 1 in that category. And then the third thing you want to do is you want to list out all these categories and decide which ones of them are best for your book because they fit your book really well, but they also have low competition. And here's a really good example of going through this process and understanding categories that would fit your book well when you're trying to determine. So let's pretend that you wrote a book about language instruction. And if you wrote a book about language instruction, every one of these categories might work out really well for you. Like these all likely fit your book. Now, the difference here is there's a huge amount of discrepancy for the number of books it takes, or a huge amount of diversity for the number of books it takes to reach position number 1. So, for example, Language Experience Approach only takes 15 books per day to become a bestseller. However, Educational Reference takes 237. So, if you're trying to decide between these 2 categories, again, you want to choose the one with less sales so you float to the top, you get recognition, people can see you, and you're actually not getting buried by all those major bestsellers that are out there. Now, within Publisher Rocket, we make it easy to find these categories because they're scattered all the place over on Amazon. And within Publisher Rocket, you can come to the category search, and that'll show you all the parent categories that you can pick for your book. So these are the high level ones like fantasy or children's books, and you would select one that applies to your book. Now, underneath that category there, so for instance, if we choose self-help, underneath self-help, we can see all the different categories that appear as subcategories and ones that you can actually pick. So for example, if I'm going through my books about self-help, I can see anger management, where it takes 30 sales per day to become a bestseller. Or I can see pet loss, where it takes 51 sales per day to become a bestseller. but I can immediately see for all these different categories what it actually takes to reach position number 1. In addition, I can see what the sales are to reach position number 10, and that just means I'll show up near the top of the page so people are still seeing my book that are browsing through those categories. Now, another benefit, hold on one second. Another benefit here is that you can actually see the percentage of big publishers in those categories, so you get an idea how competitive they are and whether or not the category has Kindle Unlimited in it. So if your book's in Kindle Unlimited, you want to take a look at that, understand whether or not it's a heavy percentage or a low percentage, so you know what your competition looks like in that specific category. Now, earlier we mentioned ghost categories, and the benefit with Rocket as well is it tags which ones are ghosts. What that means is you can now avoid categories that are active ghosts in the Amazon store and make sure you don't put your books in these, because these are the ones where you can't become a bestseller and you get almost no visibility in them. So using Rocket, you can easily avoid those ghost categories to make sure you don't appear for them. So again, with Rocket, you know which ones are duplicates, you also know which ones are ghosts, and that means you won't waste any of your 3 category choices. Because if you do put your book in a ghost, you waste one of your chances at becoming a bestseller. All right, as the recap, there are 3 ways again to get your categories. The first is guess, or you let Amazon choose for you. Please don't do this. Please don't just take a random guess at this, because chances are you'll get a really big category that you're going to show up all the way on the bottom of, and your book is not going to get discoverability or new eyes that are upon it. Second is that you can manually go through and find all the categories that are great for your book. This absolutely works, but it's probably going to take a good bit of time, and you might miss out on some of the niche categories that would really benefit your book. And then third is you can use Publisher Rocket. And the benefit again with Publisher Rocket is that you can see how many sales it takes to get position number 1. You can see all the different categories in the Amazon store, and you can search for categories that you know are going to help your book, as opposed to just scrolling through pages and pages and pages of Amazon, trying to find the ones that are best for you. Now, at this point, I bet you're wondering how you can get your hands on Publisher Rocket. And Publisher Rocket is available for just $199 for unlimited access. It's not a subscription, it's a one-time buy, so if you do purchase it, you do have it for life. And the benefits that you get out of Publisher Rocket is you find profitable keywords fast, you're able to see all 14,000 categories in the Amazon store and how to rank number 1 or number 20 for them. You can develop effective Amazon ad keywords, which we didn't talk about today, but there's a huge section all about building Amazon ads in Rocket that help you find ones that'll work for your book. You can also see how much money other authors are making. This is something that I really enjoy because I like to look at my competition and decide if I'm doing things right or wrong and how I can actually increase my game to compete with them on the Amazon store. And then you can also see emerging and hot book markets. This means you can get ahead of the trend and publish books that are at the peak of a wave, and that way you're earning more money when that becomes more and more popular and more mainstream. Finally, you also get access to this new reverse ASIN feature, which is the easy button to find out keywords that work well for your book. Now, for $199, what this means is that if Rocket helps you sell 2 more books per month, your benefit here is that it pays for itself over time. In addition, if you value your time at only $20 per hour, after only 10 hours of marketing time, Publish Rocket pays for itself as well. And I don't know about you, but when I became an author, I became to write as well, not to spend all this time doing marketing, all this time crawling through Amazon. So the benefit I get out of here again is I'm saving all this marketing time writing instead of trying to do the marketing. Now, because we're in a webinar today and you all sat with us and enjoyed and understood all the wonderful ways that you can pick keywords, you can pick categories and help your book, we're offering Rocket today for $30 off. You do have to buy through this link. So this is publisherrocket.com/Fictionary, but you do get $30 off if you buy today. And we're going to leave this deal, Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to leave this deal open until 1 week from now at midnight. So 7 days from now at midnight is when we will close it off. So you do get $30 off. Now, not just that, but we're also giving away a free course, normally $49, all about how to pick your keywords and categories. This course is wonderful because we go through deep examples of exactly how to find the keywords and categories for your book and how to find ones with real world examples that will help you out as well. So through this course, again, normally $49, but we're throwing it in for free today, you get tips how to become more discoverable on Amazon, the step-by-step process to finding profitable keywords and categories, how to find the best use for the keywords and categories that you have for more sales, and then also proven tactics to increase your rankings on the Amazon store. Again, if you want this course for free, make sure you buy this link, publisherrocket.com/Fictionary. And again, with that course, there is more. It's about, I believe, a 6-hour course, but plenty of information in there that will absolutely help you out on your publishing journey. Something else about Publisher Rocket are what people have to say about it, and the benefits here, and my favorite one to call out, is books that are flatlined, Rocket can bring new breath into. It can help books that aren't making sales, revive them, bring them back on the Amazon store, and help them start making sales again. In addition, Rocket is an investment, and it's something that should pay itself back over time because you're making more and more sales. So again, the offer that we have is Rocket, which is normally $199 value, the Keywords and Categories course, which is $49 available for free, unlimited updates and future new features. So anything that we come up with in the future, you get for free as well once you buy Rocket. World-class support made from real authors that are there to help you out, and access to lessons, resources, and tutorials. Offering all that for $169, which you can find at publisherrocket.com/fictionary. The last benefit you have is that it is risk-free with a 30-day money back. If you don't like it for Rocket, or if you don't like Rocket for any reason, just let us know, return it. We don't ask questions as long as it's been 30 days, we send your money right back. So if you buy it again, and for any reason you think it's not for you, or it's not for you, just return it. We're happy that you tried it, and we hope it helped you on your book journey. All right. With that, I really hope you all enjoyed the lesson today. Whether or not you have Rocket, this should really have cleared up a lot of questions about Amazon, how their algorithm works, and how you can take advantage as an author tonight to improve your book's position in the store. If you do want the sale, remember it's at this link below. But other than that, we are open for questions.
All righty. Do you want to stop sharing, Hank, and then you and I can have a little discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we do have questions here. So I've scrolled back up. My
Okay.
apologies if I missed someone. We got a lot of people here today, so I'm going to try and go through as many as I can. First one is from Kristen. Is this all the same for print-on-demand books?
So print on demand, are we talking, when we say print on demand, do we mean like Amazon print on demand, like their print covers there, or what exactly do we mean there?
Kristen, do you want to come off mute just quickly and clarify that?
Sure. Yeah. Print on demand, like making workbooks or journals, but all through Amazon KDP. Print on
Yeah,
demand.
so as long as you're through KDP, you're good there because you're still going to be selecting categories and you'll still be selecting keywords over there. Now, if you're selling, books on your own site, print on demand, like the Amazon analytics might not directly match up. That might not help you there as much. But as long as it's on KDP and you confirm it's in a books category, then Rocket will work for these areas.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course,
Nice.
and as well as Rocket, all the lessons today would also apply there.
Perfect. So JP says, I assume that when you use a phrase, I think she's talking about keywords here, you do not also get the individual words. In other words, if I use space marine, I do not also get space and marine separately.
This is a great question, and Amazon is tricky about this one. So, and I'm going to nerd out here a little bit. So we did studies on this because we wanted to know, like, what happens if you fill that box with a whole bunch of words? Do you get all those, individual words? Does this help you show up on Amazon? And here's what we found out. Basically, the word Space Marine, you'll show up the most for. Like, you have the most power behind it. Amazon says, hey, you match up really strong with this. We're going to try to put you closer to the top. However, they're going to still see space and they will see marine too, but they're going to put you far farther down the page for those two. So if you have more words in there, you show up more places across the Amazon store. However, all those individual words have way less power than the phrase together. So what we recommend here again is if you're putting keywords in your boxes, and you go and you do what's called keyword stuffing, which is you fill out the entire box. Keep in mind that that entire box is less powerful, but you show up in more places compared to a keyword where if you have the exact phrase, it's going to be really powerful, but you might not show up in as many places across the store. So different people have different ideas on strategy there, but that's the idea in the foundings that we've discovered.
Okay, so we're going to follow that up with, if one uses singular, will it pick up plural?
It does. And Amazon recommends this actually not to put in both variations of it. So Amazon does have rules about keywords and what you should do. And some of them are suggestions, some of them are harder rules, but you can find this in their guidelines. And they say that if you have a single keyword, you don't need to put the plural version in. Amazon also have other rules in there. For example, you can't use like the keyword Coca-Cola unless you are Coca-Cola. You can't go and pretend to be someone you're not. For example, you can't put like best deal ever. Like they're not allowed to say it's a deal or that it's like the #1 bestseller today, because when someone searches for it, it's not today anymore, it's technically tomorrow. So Amazon has a couple rules about this. We actually just released a feature in Rocket, or we're actually doing it this coming week, which will help you see which ones you might want to avoid, flags them so it tells you, hey, you might not want to include a keyword with the word deal in it, because Amazon might get upset.
Okay. I'm going to just give you a little plug here. Pamela says, I already have Publisher Rocket and absolutely love it, but have not been schooled in using it to its full potential. Looking forward to the
Awesome.
tutorials. Thank you.
So happy you enjoyed it.
Maureen says, does it work, Publisher Rocket, for the UK market?
It does. So it's brand new in the UK market. We actually just this year brought on several more markets. We used to only do Germany, United States, and I think we actually did have UK. So with UK, Germany, United States until this year, where we brought on 5 additional markets. So we now have Italy, France, Canada, Australia, and Spain as well. So Rocket is international in all those different markets. Just go and click on the upper right-hand corner. There'll be a flag. Pick the one that applies to you.
Okay, so Carolyn and somebody else down below says, I have Publisher Rocket. Can I have access to the course too?
Of course. So because you all came and joined us today, and we're so happy to see you all learning about how to benefit your books and improve them, just write an email to publisherrocket.com/support. So go to that page, you'll see the box where you can enter in like the help box, and just say Hank sent you. We'll take care of you. Just let them know Hank sent you over from the Fictionary webinar, and we'll make sure you get a free copy of that course.
Ooh, excellent. That's fantastic. Well, that answers the next question from Kathy. What is the support on Rocket? And I think you just answered that question. Ta-da.
Yep. You can find it there. And the benefit to support that we have is that it's answered by authors. These are people that are in the author world. I mean, they're experienced, they understand and see how books are published. And they're real people. It's not a chatbot. So if you write into Rocket, we're helping you out with actual real people that understand what you're trying to do and are going to help you without your book.
Nice. Okay, two more questions. One's really easy. Is the offer of Publisher Rocket, is that an annual fee or is that lifetime?
Lifetime. With Rocket, you only have to pay once. In the future, Rocket might become a subscription, but if you own it now, you never pay again. So if we become a subscription in the future, you are grandfathered in, you own Rocket for life, we're not going to bill you again. But
Woohoo.
in the future, there's a good chance it might become a subscription, and if you don't own it, then that's where you'd have to pay yearly. But again, if you
Okay.
own now, you'll never have to pay again.
Wait, here we are. Okay. Are you planning, okay, so in Fictionary, we have people from 53 countries. So here's the question. Are you
Congrats, that's
planning to
huge.
extend,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's great. Are you planning to extend Rocket to Latin American markets?
We are always looking at which markets we can add, but the Amazon data is sometimes really hard to get. Amazon, I'm convinced, and I don't know here, but looking at their data, I think a different team like runs each of their different markets, and they all save things in different ways, and they all make the data come out in different ways. So
Okay.
we are working in the future to bring more markets on. I can't promise when that will occur, but I can say it's something that we're always interested in doing.
Okay, so we're going to do two more questions and then it's time to go. One is, are Canada and US search results on KDP the same?
No, they're not. It's actually interesting, and I am going to use a great example of Christina from about 1 hour ago when you said,
Okay.
Hank, do you want to share your chart, right? Or share your charts. And I said, what's a chart? And you said, oh, it's your PowerPoint. People in different countries have different ways that they refer to things. And I was so confused when you said that. And
I
if you
know.
typed in the keyword charts on American, Amazon, it's going to show something different than Canada. So they are different there. In addition, Canada's a smaller market. So you're going to see less searches for things, less purchases, and it'll give you a better idea how much they're going to sell. Now, that being said, they should correlate. You shouldn't see massive differences. For example, fantasy in USA is probably also big in the Canadian market. However, the scales at which they are and whether or not they refer to things different or have a different type of trend is what Rocket can show you.
Right. So I'm going to follow that up with my own question on,
Sure.
so our books go out on .ca,
Yep.
.uk, .com, right? So the US market is the biggest market for, at least that's where most of my books sell is from
Yep.
Amazon.com, right? So do you do keywords for that, even though it won't do as well in Canada because it's not quite the same?
It depends on how you publish your book. Like if you're publishing like a Canadian version or something like that, then you could potentially change it up there. Or say you have a strategy where you think that your book in Canada is going to do amazing and you want to target those keywords for Canada. Like a
Right.
Canadian political book, for example, I guarantee you is probably going to sell more there than here. I would
Sure.
recommend in those cases chasing after that. But if
Right.
your book is
Okay.
going live on the American market and that's your target, I would use the American keywords. But it all depends upon your targeting, what you're writing about, and how you split your book up when you publish.
Okay, that's super important. Okay, final question, and it's from two people, JP and Denise. I'm a children's author, so my categories seem pretty limited. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So there's two things that are important here when it comes to it. One is really think about how you can get a little creative with your categories. Think about like if your book is something that is, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. If your book is about, Paw Patrol and it's about how Paw Patrol experiences like a loss of a family member or something, I don't know if that's a theme or not that goes on in there, but you might want to consider at that point to put it in a similar type of category to how to deal with like loss of a family member or something. Like if it fits, like again, make sure it fits. Don't go and try to put your book in categories it doesn't fit in. But if it does fit in that way, you can go ahead and extend there and make sure it applies. So that is one example there where if your category or if your book has multiple different themes in there, make sure you include those. With children's books, especially, a lot of it's based upon the characters. So if you go look, there's a ton of different animal character for children's books. There's children's books about frogs, dogs, cats, like there's a whole list of these in the children's book section. So keep in mind what your character's about because you can use those. But the most important thing I'd recommend for children's books is before you start writing your book, do your research. Find out what categories are working really well in children's books before you write it. And then if you're writing a children's book that has a certain type of theme, but you don't know if it should be a dog, a truck, a cat, or whatever else for the main character, find out what's succeeding. Go look at the categories and you can find out right away which ones are taking off, which ones have interest. And based upon the keywords that you research before you write this book, you can position your book for success by doing just a little bit of research ahead of time. So I highly recommend that for your children's books just because they're very trendy and you can see which things kids are interested this year and tackle that so it fits well with that market.
Fantastic. All right, we are going to end on that note. Hank, you did a wonderful job. I can't believe how much I learned. I'm going to have to rewatch it again and go look at what I've been doing with my books to see what's going on there. Super appreciate you taking the time. Love that you gave an offer for Fictionary specifically. That's wonderful. I already have the product, so I've had it for years now. Love it. Highly recommend
Wonderful.
it to anyone who's here. That's just my little pitch. So Hank, thank you again for coming and giving us such a thoughtful and thorough presentation.
Of course, and thank you again so much for having us. We are so happy to be here. Any way that we can help out authors with their day-to-day life and going through and publishing, we're happy to be a part of. So we really do
And
appreciate it.
all right, terrific. Well, thank you everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you all soon.
Best of luck.